Nursing can be a really stressful profession. On this video, we're going to show you how foreign nurses handle stress when working in a tough environment, such as a jail.
Welcome to the Jail Nurse Podcast. Here we talk about our experiences as current and former San Francisco Bay Area jail nurses, the things that make us feel trapped in life, and the practical things you can do to escape these life traps. How are you guys doing today?
I am doing well.
Good, man.
Good,
Well
good.
after my drink.
Yeah? What are you having today?
Got a guava craft cider.
Very nice.
But you know what? This has been in the fridge. I don't know how long it's been. It actually says the date on it.
Don't you get red after you drink, Roland?
A little bit.
Oh.
So it'll probably, I'll probably progressively turn red, maybe.
You have vitamins and Pepsid, right?
I do. I got vitamin. Oh, here, I see it. It's canned 11/17/2021. But I asked Alexa. She said it's good for 2 years.
2021, and that ended No, that's this year.
Yeah, this year. It'll be sometime this year, so I got to get rid of it, you know?
Oh, there you go. That's a good way to get rid of it. Down the pipe. All right. So one of the things that we kind of wanted to talk about today was, so working in jail can be kind of a high stress environment in a sense that the ratio from inmate to medical staff is so lopsided that you're really the go-to person. And when a medical emergency actually happens, who does the staff really look up to? It's usually you, it's usually the charge nurse. And if the charge nurse isn't available, who's the next RN that's available, right?
It's whoever is on that floor. Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I feel that one of the stresses of being on the floor as an RN, even though granted you're not doing a lot of things constantly, kind of like a med surg nurse, but you're always on that high alert. And I feel like we've talked about this in the past, that even though maybe you're not physically doing things, you're always on high alert. You're always listening to the radios, seeing if there's anything that's going to happen. And it's usually
the next big event that happens.
Yeah. It's exactly. You're listening for that next big event. You're listening for, oh, is there a 415 in blah, blah, blah pod, or code blue on blah, blah, blah. And that's when your adrenaline just kicks into high gear and you're it, right? So
pretty much.
Yeah. So what have you guys done like in the past to kind of mitigate that stress? So like on the spot stress.
On the spot.
Yeah. Things I kind of learned starting off was, once that adrenaline kicks in, one of the bad things to do is just start running towards it. Granted, yeah, it is a time sensitive moment, but when you run towards something, you lose your train of thought. You lose the ability to get that oxygen to your brain, get that oxygen to your cells, and really be able to focus and think through your situations. So I kind of like I'll briskly walk there, but I'll go through it in my head like, oh, my assessments. What did I hear? Was it a 415? Okay. It's got to be something with trauma related, right? So I'll bring anything related for my trauma assessment.
That's true.
If I hear seizure on the radio, okay, we're definitely bringing our med kit from the refrigerator. And it's based on whatever you hear, right?
But you're definitely right. Like, basically, when you're charged, even if you're not charged, if you're just one of the RNs on the floor, you're always listening for that radio call. Yeah, even an LVN, regardless. Like, if you're a staff member, you're always listening for what's next. And like you said, it'll be a 415, a fight, a seizure, or you got a code blue from... Shoot, it's usually the code blues that are the people on your report board. And so I think for myself too, I think you just get used to it also when you keep seeing the same cases over and over again. So if you hear a fight or you know you're going to have to do some wound care, you pick your basics, which are you either get the chart, you get the computer, and then you bring either your wound care stuff, or somebody needs to bring that Dynamap too. But I think having that organization before you go definitely helps. So that way you're not as stressed by the time you get there. But you do need to be familiar with your policies, your standard procedures, because if you don't know what you can do, then it becomes more of an issue once you're there.
True. I think like a code 3 or code blue situation, you kind of just have to run and get there and kind of perform your life-saving skills. Whether that's CPR or doing whatever you got to do that's within your scope to save that life.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Oh yeah, usually like whenever I go to codes, I usually have at least like vital signs equipment on me.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's always like an AED around in each house. And there's usually, for fights though, like when you hear like 415 or 242 on the radio, you know that you're not just going to go in an unsafe situation. You know that before you go there, you gotta, they're going to let you know that, the situation is clear. You guys come up and assess the victim, the perpetrator, or whoever else is involved in the situation, and you kind of go from there. You might want to bring like a trauma bag or any type of red bag to help deal with whatever injuries you're going to see, and try to patch them up as best as you can. And if it needs like further surgery or any type of anything more serious, then you kind of have to go send them out. But
that is true.
I think like the more that we go on, the better it is for us in terms of like handling the stress and the anxiety.
That's true.
And knowing like who your team is and who's around you, it kind of gives you more confidence too. Like, that, okay, this person is going to do this. This person knows this. But you're right. Like if you're in the pod or the cell or that area where the code is, you kind of have to act, and you can't just wait for a charge nurse to come and save you. You kind of have to rely on yourselves.
I mean, there are some people that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. There's some people that are allergic to codes.
But definitely, yeah. Like, especially the thing that you mentioned, having a good team. Like, if you're the charge, sometimes you do have to delegate right away. Like, what's everybody going to do? But in the most ideal sense, everybody knows what parts are necessary. So sometimes you don't even have to tell them. Somebody will grab the crash cart or the emergency bag. Somebody will grab the vital signs. Somebody will grab the chart or open up the profile on the computer. And then everybody just goes at like one unit. That's the most ideal thing that could possibly happen.
Pretty much Narcan is around the house. Everybody has like Narcan on them at this point.
That too. That should just be like, that's just like a stick. Yeah. They just throw it to them.
I think the hard part about jail nursing is like our code blues are different from the hospital, right? Like code blue in the hospital, people are expecting like somebody that's crashing or having some kind of cardiac thing, but we don't know like what kind of code blue we're responding to. So it could be something really, really dumb, like I don't know, like a paper cut or something. People call code blues for like really basic stuff like that, or it could be something really serious too. So I think
or the tummy hurts.
Yeah, or the stomach hurts, or something like really trivial that should just go through triage normally, or it could be something really serious. So I think at least the way that I handle the stress is just like, knowing your protocols really helps. So just knowing like what you have to do in case of any of those emergencies that could come up. And then as long as it's not an emergency, then there's not really any stress. Like once you get there, like once you figure out whether it's a true emergency or not. And then like you guys said, like depends on your team too. So if you're the only RN and you're working with like a bunch of LVNs who can't make the call on whether they need to go to the hospital or not, then like that's more stress on you, right? So I think understanding the protocols is really good. So that really just comes with time too.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you'll have your first seizure, you'll have your first fight, and typically you don't really know what to do.
Yeah, that's true.
But the more that you come across them, it becomes like not routine, but you will come across a lot of frequent ones. frequent ones. So like your fights, your seizures. What else is there?
There's hangings.
Chest pain. Chest pain's a good one. So then you deal with everything systematically over time because you know what to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're starting, it sucks because typically you have no idea what's going on.
True.
But luckily, you usually end up having at least a pretty good team. People know stuff, you know?
Exactly.
Like, they'll know the protocols. Or you'll have more senior nurses there.
Yeah.
And then they fill in where they need to.
If you don't know something, somebody around you will know something. And
Yeah, that
learn
too.
from that.
Yeah,
The next
pretty,
time there's a code, you could be like, okay, I got this. I know what to do now for this situation.
Yeah, it got pretty scary though. There was a point when our shift, the PM shift, a bunch of the senior people were going to retire, and then the next person in line in terms of seniority was me, I think. But there's like a gap of 10 or 20 years of nursing experience. So you go from having someone that has like a ton of correctional health time, like a really senior nurse, but then all of a sudden you're the most senior person. So everybody's kind of looking up to you to, you know, figure out what to do too. So that adds a lot of pressure.
When all the senior nurses left, I went from like the bottom of the schedule to right under you, John. It was literally, we had our charge nurse, and then it was you, and then it was me. And then I was like, oh shit, like how did I get up here?
I know. I thought it was so
that's the thing with the
crazy
corrections too.
how crazy we rotated into a charge nurse position. Like, I feel like it was only like a month and a half and it was already running like desk or charge at the facility.
Yeah, it was like 3 months into it. I ran desk, and then I started training people. Man, that was a good one.
That's like a huge disconnect, though. Like
A little bit, yeah.
That's borderline. That's pretty dangerous, actually.
But you know what? When they put me as charge for both facilities the very first time, you know who they told me my resource is going to be? It's John. John was like, they said, John, it's cool. If you have any questions, just call John. He'll be in your intake. And then it was John and who's that other guy? You remember the other guy that used to be there? But it was both of you guys that trained me.
Was that a Caucasian guy?
No, it was a Filipino guy.
Oh, Jason?
Oh yeah, Jason. He's the guy that I said JR looks like. When JR first came, I thought it was Jason. Like I thought Jason came, but it wasn't.
You know what's funny? Like every facility I go to, I feel like I have a doppelganger. Like there was somebody that I either look like or look like that still works there. So it's funny how that always comes up. Like, oh, you know what? You look like somebody we used to work with, or oh, you look like him who works dock shift. It's funny.
Oh, that's Rick.
Oh yeah. So it was either like Rick or Sam.
No, dude, it was me. It rotated between the Filipino guys.
That's true.
So I guess, like, for the most part, it seems what I'm gathering from you guys is it was really just knowing your protocols and knowing what your policies and procedures were.
I think really studying those helps you be confident in acting accordingly, according to like whatever policy, procedure, standard procedure that you have. It makes it a lot easier because you know your options as opposed to like going straight to sending them to the hospital. You still have some interventions that you can do before getting to that point.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I worked with all four of you guys for codes. And I gotta say,
true, huh?
when we actually work together on them, we're pretty seamless. I'm not trying to toot our horn or anything, but it's like I can get onto something. I already know Roland's going to be moving on to another thing that I know I'm going to need later on. JR is going to move to another thing that we already know. John's probably going to. And we don't even have to communicate to each other sometimes. And that's how cohesive of a team that you can have, is where you already know, you trust your people around you, that you already know they're going to do something before you even say it. Or you
don't even have to think about some certain parts of a code because somebody's already handling it. And that's literally the most ideal case.
Yeah.
You could double check with them that they're going to do it, but for the most part, they're actually going to tell you, like, oh, I did this already. I did the paperwork. I have the consultation form.
Mhm.
I already called them for you. And all that you're left to do is to make sure that the patient is safe.
Yeah.
So that's the best case scenario for sure.
True. You need at least like a good team of 3. And you
Yeah.
could accomplish a lot, I think, in like code situations, like nurse 1, nurse 2, and then you have like a nurse that's a scribe that's writing everything down for you.
That's true.
Yeah. I feel like I've been in situations with you guys where I would be like, oh.
You turn around.
You guys are already doing things. I'm like, oh, I think I know what they're thinking, but I'm just going to say, oh.
You're like, oh, do you want some girlfriend? It's exactly like that.
I remember we had a code, Roland, and Roland was just, he was like the drug man, dude. He had everything out of his.
I brought it all.
What do you need, Rick? Oh, we need that. Okay, well, he pulled it out of his pocket. I was like, what the heck? Apparently, all these things were in our protocols. And then the pod deputy was just laughing. He's like, what the heck else do you have in your pocket, dude?
Yeah, I mean, when you show up prepared with all the anticipated like protocol meds, then you're okay for the most part. At least you'll be prepared. You have it on you. You don't have to go all the way back down to come all the way back up. You have the computer with you to ensure that there's no allergies, and then you can fulfill your protocol from that point. But it really depends on if you know it or not.
However, there'll be situations where you bring like a crash cart and an oxygen tank or suction to a code situation, thinking that all the equipment works.
Oh,
and you get there and
it's not charged. Like, the suction is not charged.
The suction is broken. The oxygen tank doesn't work. The wrong tubings for the oxygen tank. You can't find the AmBlue bag.
That's true. No facility named. No facility named in that one.
No. I think a lot of them. So I think if you really want to like have a less stressful day, at least make sure your equipment is working before you bring it out there, prior to your day starting.
Yeah.
Was that when you had to hold someone that was naked?
Yeah, I was doing a rear naked Heimlich maneuver.
Heimlich?
Yeah.
He wasn't completely naked because he was covered in a substance, correct?
Yes, it was vomit.
No, one more. There's one more. Vomit, and I believe there was peanut butter as well.
There was
correct?
Peanut butter.
On the other end or on the front end?
I don't know what end it was, but it was on my clothes.
Oh! Did you throw those out?
No.
That's a very classic story.
What was he even choking on?
The peanut butter.
Aspirating.
Peanut butter.
I don't. To be honest, he gave the choke signal.
The sign. Okay.
When you go to follow protocol, you ask him if you can perform the maneuver on them, if it's okay if you help them. But yeah, we were like trying everything, but oxygen tank. I had to tell each member to, hey, can you go back to the clinic and find better tubing and the right mask. So I was using an AmBlue bag, but I had to inflate it somehow, like holding it, scrunching it until the air got back in, and then I could use it again. But it was at that point it was worthless. And I tried the suction, but we couldn't get an extension cord that was long enough. So the last thing I did was just try to do a Heimlich maneuver. I even put him up against the wall and try to push do the Heimlich maneuver that way as well. And then he started to cough out some of what was stuck in there.
Peanut butter, right?
It was. He was eating but he was already he had already pre-existing issues with his respiratory system. But I mean, that's the only thing I could think of at the time. I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not the right thing to do, but I mean, we kind of just handled it until paramedics came and took him to the hospital. I mean, he was turning blue,
I've
but
been
it
wondering.
came out. He started to gain his color back.
Oh,
His
that's good.
saturation was going back up. Yeah, yeah, I thought he was a. At one point, I thought he wasn't going to make it. I was like, oh man, how can we save this guy? And good thing I had like a good team around me, and we kind of just figured it out.
So you said you even did a Heimlich maneuver while he was on the wall?
Well, I tried to like the way the positioning was, I couldn't get like behind him, so it's kind of
Because
leading.
this was also in the special unit, correct?
It was.
It was
And the
for
special unit
the.
couldn't tell me anything about the guy.
It was
Luckily,
an extremely. I think that's the spot that's reserved for the mentally ill, but I forgot what's the criteria for that. I just know that
that's
they
true.
are severely mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember.
You know,
So-
when you said that he was on the wall and you're doing like trying to get him to cough out whatever, what I imagine you doing, just doing a gut punch, going,
I don't know. It might have looked like that on camera.
what?
Yeah,
I know. I wish we had the camera footage
What's
from
this
it.
guy doing? Playing Street Fighter? In the...
I can't
Put it in
imagine
the,
how much peanut butter you would have to eat to like choke on it.
I know.
Like,
I know.
it's
We
more
should
than
ask
a
the
few
ask the
tablespoons
viewers. How much peanut butter is enough?
to choke on. Like, you think it was the whole pack? Oh,
That was
man.
actually one of my last days as full time at that facility too. I was like, oh,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
gonna put
you're
you as
right.
desk today. And then I hear the code, I'm thinking, oh, that's. I was like, okay, wait,
You
it's
still
just
gotta go.
across the way. We have to go there too.
So it sounds like pretty much to me it's preparation for you guys. You know what also helped me out was having like a swim buddy. What I mean by a swim buddy is someone that kind of kept me level, kept me above the water, supposedly,
Oh, yeah,
while
definitely.
going through the shift. I feel like all three of you guys were actually my swim buddies at one point, trying to make sure I was calm during stuff.
Likewise.
Definitely, JR, I would talk to you before and after shifts just so I could decompress.
Yeah.
And then Roland, I talk to you every day, man. And it just helps. I can't stress how much that helps. And then John, we always have our little powwows during our shifts. What we're thinking of doing, or and granted, I actually trust all you guys being on my shift. So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
got to put
Yeah,
that
I've never
out.
seen John frazzled.
He's
Always
stoic
looks the
face
same
all the
every
time,
time.
man. It was
That's
like,
true.
let's go. That's John to me.
Not easy, man.
Not easy. He said, pimping
I
it easy.
think that's partly because I think it's the expected. Because when I guess by the time I left or before you guys came on, like I was basically the most senior person on the shift, so there was kind of like an expectation, like anybody's going to ask questions, they're going to if they keep going up and up on the seniority, eventually they're going to expect me to have like the answer to things. So I think just making sure like I can stay a resource to everybody. Because if I start freaking out, it's probably going to freak out everybody else on the shift.
That is true.
That's true. I see it that way
But
as well.
Yeah.
I think just the communication between all of us too, like when you're working with somebody, you're constantly talking with them throughout the shift. And so that makes it easier when it comes to handling anything because, I mean, everybody has information on the same inmates or patients. And it just helps. If you could talk to everybody, like that just helps in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just as long as people don't get panicked. Like once
Yeah.
people start panicking, then you got to worry about not only like the code situation, but try to make sure like they're doing what they need to do and not letting their panic get the best of them.
That's true.
Like we've had this didn't happen too often, but there were some codes where there were like multiple codes happening at the same time. So what I would have to do is like try to send like the second highest senior person to like the other code and figure out is that really a code or is it just like a triage situation, like a house call. But like knowing that you can trust that other person to make the call and whether it's like an emergency or not. So that's really important. So not like knowing the protocols, but not panicking just because it's code blue. Um, and then like being able to trust like that they'll make a decision that like they can support.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, when I used to tell, are we doing names? Sorry, I
You
always
can
get
make up a
confused
name.
with. No, it's not anybody. Our name is my personal SO name. But like, when we talk about code blues and stuff, she would be like, "Oh, that's not a real code blue." I'm like, "Oh, I know, that's a jail code blue. It could literally be anything." So
Yeah.
just hearing it by itself shouldn't panic you. You got to kind of figure out first what it's gonna be, for sure.
Yeah, he can't be
That's
like,
true.
oh shit. What do you guys? What do you? You don't do that stuff. You just kind of you
Well,
hear
definitely,
it, you get in your head, figure out that you're going to do your heads to assessment, and just go to work, right?
yeah. It's
One,
the
one
best
thing I
thing
would
to
add.
do.
Oh, go
One
ahead.
thing I would add about what you said, Rick, back at the beginning about like not running to the codes, because we're being recorded. I always make sure to run to the codes because we don't know if it's like a real one or not, right? So I can see like if they saw us like just walking like very slowly to the codes, or we're being
Yeah,
very casual about it, and it ends up being like
Yeah.
a real thing, then we'll get like a lot of heat for that, right?
true.
So
Right.
like
That's why I
after,
run to the elevator, even though I don't see nobody else. We all got to wait for the elevator. I'll run.
yeah, at least
That
so
part, yes,
it
you
shows
could.
that we're like,
I'd
yeah.
agree with that, but
Once I get to the
difference
pod, I
between
slow down though
walking
for
with
sure.
purpose and walking as in lollygagging.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
those who lollygag, you have no purpose on my shift.
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But I mean, if you hear that and you kind of get mentally into the game of being like, okay, this is serious. Let's do something with purpose. Let's walk to this location with purpose, or let's get to this person who's in need. That in itself should always be like forefront. And yes, it is a dire situation usually that they're not going to call that for no reason.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
And we treat them all the same. Like a code is a code. We'll approach every code as an emergency for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All hands on deck when you hear code blue or code
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
or
I think
patient not breathing or no pulse, no breathing.
I always when I was used to training, like I would tell people, like make sure at least like on camera show like you're hustling
yeah,
in some way, like fasting speed or
yeah,
not just
Don't
like
laugh.
taking your time and going slow.
Don't try laughing in the middle of a code because you're not running fast enough or you're doing
That's
something
true.
weird.
When I was like
Yeah, just knowing.
when I was like in law enforcement, they always preached about walking with a purpose. And yeah, same situation here. You always got to walk with some type of purpose, or at least know that you are showing people that okay, you're here to help.
Mhm.
You don't look like you're just here for a paycheck or just here to pass 8 hours, 10 hours, or whatever. That you're actually here to do your job.
Mhm.
I mean, you can laugh and giggle all you want, but when the time comes to work, then you got to do it.
yeah.
That is true.
With that all in mind and all that stress that goes on that you guys have handled in the past, what do you guys usually do? Like, has it ever affected your personal life? And what do you guys usually do outside of work to handle the residual stress from working at the jail?
Let's see.
For me, like the work itself isn't too bad. The thing that stresses me out more is if like I end up having to stay late. So like whatever happens during the 8 hours is fine. Like if it's busy, not busy, whatever happens happens. But where it affects me is if I get out late. So if I get out 30 minutes late or something like that, or an hour late, then it starts to get more stressful. Like then it's like, oh, we didn't have enough staff to get the work done on time, or something happened that caused us to be late. But that's where it gets more stressful to me because if you have other obligations that you have to get to, but then your
Yeah.
job keeps you from that, then it starts to affect you like your private life too. But in my mind, like whatever happens during the 8 hours, it happens part of the job, right?
Kind of like whatever happens in that 8 hours. Once you clock out, it's you don't want to take it home with you. It is nice to kind of de-stress with your coworkers after a situation,
That's
like
true.
like walking to the car and like talking things through.
Or go to the
letting
bar.
out, like, decompressing as you're like talking to like your coworkers and seeing how they thought the day went, and
That's true.
then you see your family and you're fine. I usually have like a long drive sometimes, so I kind of use my long drive to like decompress. I listen to a podcast, listen to Trapped, but listen to the radio music, and then I'll maybe get a call from Rick or Roland or John, and I'm good to go.
And trap music is intense, though, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think after work, what usually ends up happening, at least for us, everybody does go home together, which is nice for the most part. But it usually ends with a little bit of humor, even though you might have had a hard day or maybe it was just like a rough shift. At least you could talk about it afterwards in that like 5-10 minutes as you're going back home. But I think like JR said, I typically try to not bring anything from work back home. So I don't even know if I really talk about work at home. Sometimes I do, but I don't let it drag on way past that 8-hour shift. I try to keep work as work. And then when I'm at home, I do what I want to do, or I do what I normally do for my routine. And that usually helps me. That way I don't go to sleep thinking about work. I hate that. Like, I don't want to think about work. I literally just clock out, and then I am going home to do whatever. For the most part.
And one big difference between the jail and my current job is even in the jail, even though we have like all those code blues, but they don't happen like all the time. So for the most part, it'll be maybe like a low level of stress for most of the shift, and then you'll have spikes of like really high stress, right? But then certain jobs, maybe like other nursing jobs too, like you might be at that high stress level all like the whole shift. So like when I started my current job, it was kind of like that. Like it was high stress for the whole shift, and it actually made me feel more burnt out than like the jail job ever did. Because our bodies are really good at handling like the short bursts of stress, like the fight and flight response. But like the long continuous stuff, like if it happens like the whole 8 hours every single day, then that can definitely start to have an effect on like your mental health for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, I as much as possible didn't want to bring that stuff home. We would have our talks or our little powwows on our way to the cars before we head home. And then even when I got home, I'd hang out in the garage for maybe like in 30 to 40 minutes, just decompressing. And before that, I used to even, when it wasn't so freaking cold outside, I used to jog right after work just to...
I remember that, man.
That's when your ankles were healthy.
What's that?
When your ankles were healthy.
Yeah, those are my ankles.
Like, were you the one, Rick, that was running like a mile like after work?
Yeah.
Like a good distance. Yeah.
I was just doing that right after work. It was just my way, so I could sleep. Because I'd be so amped up right after work, especially after, like, if it was a stressful shift. That was the only way I could take that stress out of my body, is just...
Tire yourself out?
Tire myself.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, granted, I could have tired myself out other ways, but that was the most.
That definitely aligns with one of our most recent videos, for sure.
I think Roland touched on something else too, like humor. Humor like really helps a lot.
That's why we're all so funny, man. Like it's just a byproduct of working at the jail. You see so many weird things, just not normal things, but you can't do anything. But I mean, you could try to see the bright side of things. That's usually what we try to do. And so that's why I feel so optimistic when it comes to everything else, because you literally see all these people at their lowest point in their life.
Exactly.
For 8 hours. Like they are sulking, they are doing everything. And it's like you can't do anything but, I don't know, have a joke, make a joke, see the bright side of things.
Exactly.
But that's just what happens, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Humor does help a lot. I think
not everybody understands our type of humor, but at least it's something shared among us as jail nurses.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So I think as a jail nurse, you develop that
morbid sense of humor.
I guess so. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, that the whole sense of humor thing, it's weird because a lot of people don't get us. And at my new job, one of my coworkers asked me, "Hey, what did you do before here?" I said, "Oh, I was a drug dealer at a jail." Like, oh, what? How did you get here? No, sorry, it's a joke. I would pass medications at a jail. I was a jail nurse. I'm like, oh, haha, I get it.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
It's different for people.
like it's our type of humor is just sometimes it's over the top that a lot of people don't really handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What
not
do you guys
for
usually
everybody.
do like outside of like? I'm sure you guys decompress other ways outside of work too. Outside of a work day, like for me, I like to go to Watercourse Way. Shout out to them.
You like that place, huh? It's
I
nice.
love that place, dude. There's the hot tub sauna, and then you just jump into the cold plunge, and
Is that the one in Palo Alto that you guys
yeah,
were talking
It
about?
is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
you feel
Have you been
so
there?
relaxed right after.
No, I think I saw it when you guys last talked about it, but I like the Japanese like hot spring concept.
Yeah,
So
it's nice
Sounds nice.
inside. It's like super relaxing. I didn't think I would like it, but it was cool.
You know, it'd be cool as if we could
I'll do that at the same time.
sponsor. Yeah,
we
let's
gotta do
all
a podcast inside the spa.
let's do a
That would
podcast
be cool.
at the spot, and then see if they would allow us to get sponsor us for it.
Maybe. Maybe they do something like that. But yeah, it's definitely a great thing. I mean, on the outside, when you have your free time, it's best to just enjoy it however you want to enjoy it. I mean, it could be a spa, it could be a hot tub, whatever you like to do, man. Just do it because you only get how many days off? You get at least 2 days off. So use it, make the most of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's the problem with like the every other weekend schedule for nursing. It really messes up like your normal life, man. So the
True.
moment like when our behavioral health program started, when they gave us the offer of a Monday through Friday schedule, like I knew right away like that would really that would improve like our like just like our lifestyle better than anything else if we can just somehow get onto a regular schedule. So like nowadays, even though like the JO is still like every other weekend, it was one of the reasons why I left too. But now like trying to find a position that is more matches more with like a typical work week, or at least have the flexibility to do that. Like if you're per diem or something, you can make your own schedule. That actually like benefits. That is what I would use as like a de-stressor over anything else. Just trying to get into a good schedule that works with like the rest of your life.
That is true. I think, when they made that transition to Monday to Friday, I still kept the every other weekend for a month or so, maybe a few months.
Mm.
But eventually, I think they wanted everybody on the same schedule, and it definitely was better. Just like now that I have a regular schedule of just regular like Monday to Friday,
Hmm.
it's improved for sure. I would say my routine is improved, and so that definitely helps not add any stress by just having a better routine.
JR, you're per diem at both jobs, right?
I am. I am.
Yeah, so
So
you
it's
have
kind of
full.
nice
That's like the
to
next best thing, other than aside from like being scheduled. Like at least you have the ability to choose what day you want to work, what day you want to be off.
pretty much.
So just
It's
having that
definitely more
flexibility.
flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, some places still require you to work weekends. So I mean, um, you'll have to give availability some weekends, but for the most part, it's pretty flexible. You kind of make your own schedule. Um, take the days off you need. The only thing tough is if like when it comes to like vacations or taking days off, um, there's no
Unpaid.
money coming for those
Yeah.
days. So you gotta kind of make up for it some weeks where you have to work a little bit more or do whatever you need to do to make up some hours. But essentially, it's nice.
So what do you
Definitely
usually do,
helps if
JR?
being de-stressed. Like you're not like you don't have to think about, oh my god, I have to work 5 6 days this week. How am I gonna get through? Or
Hmm.
like it's like put in a way where I'm having to work like 7 days in a row. Like oh my gosh.
God.
And now I don't have a weekend, 2 weekends in a row. Like, I don't know how that worked out, but yeah, it definitely helps with like being less stressed, knowing that you can make your own schedule.
Mhm.
Do you guys really do anything though, like outside of that? Like, I know I've taken Roland skeet shooting a couple times too. Like, what activities do you guys usually do to
Oh, yeah, man, that recreation stuff, that is fun. Like, just recreational shooting, it's fun. Like, it just smells like gunpowder, and you just shoot clay discs. And there's no objective for myself. I set no objective, so I'm just out there having fun. But I mean,
I used to
aside from
watch
that, oh, go ahead.
I used to watch like a ton of movies after work.
Yeah, John, I was about to talk about that. I remember we were both working there still together. We always talked about, are you going to catch this movie, this or that movie?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, or watch something on TV. And I'm always waiting,
Yeah.
like, is John working today? Because I have to talk to him at this movie.
Did you guys ever get into K-dramas?
Oh,
What was it?
oh,
Yes.
come
Okay,
on,
go
man.
on.
Why do you think I've been cutting
Oh
my
my
hair so
gosh.
differently? Just because of those.
So all three of you guys got into the K-dramas.
I haven't seen any of the
Yeah.
modern stuff. I used to watch it a long time ago, like in the high school. So this would be the 90s, like
Man,
90s K drama.
I listened to this thing on Spotify. It's called Korean with David. That's how much I watch them K-dramas.
Roland is the one that put me onto K-dramas, actually.
That is,
Oh man,
man,
Yeah.
it's good.
I gotta ask you guys, which one of you guys have seen Crash Landing?
I've heard of that. That's like a 90s one, right? Yeah.
It's one, yeah. Like I would say that's like top 3 at least.
That's
Top
true.
three?
Yeah,
I feel like it put a lot of
definitely.
people onto K-dramas. Well, like
Yeah, that's what started me too. Was that one?
the
The
Netflix
reason why I stopped
K-dramas.
was like every character would end up having cancer or like a medical issue, or they were like, you know, what do they call it, like the big reveal, like in the show, like,
Yeah,
oh, you know, they have the cancer, they're each other's siblings. It was always like the same
Dude.
concept that they would use. I think that's why I stopped watching that stuff.
I know, like the first episode is always like the saddest,
yeah.
and then every episode after that is like a completely different story.
They get me. Like I know there's a formula for it. I don't care, and I literally wait. I wait like at least 12 to the 16 episodes until they like have their first kiss. Like that's how much I love those things, man. Like goddamn, they're good.
You're one of those who wait, huh?
Yeah, man. I wait all 15 episodes just for him to grab her hand like this and like prevent her from walking away, and so he confesses his love to her.
It's like watching a season of Dragon Balls. You just all this dialogue.
So like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd get stuck on that. Has any of the things that have occurred at work kind of hit close to home? Because I can say, like, one of the times that I worked a night shift, and then I went to invite my wife out to go have some pho. So we go to this place, and then in the morning, probably like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., we're having pho, and then I see it on TV, like, oh, it's on a news channel, and something about some arson that happened, and then it says the name. I was like, shit, I just booked that guy like 3 hours ago.
Oh, you just seen him?
And so has anything like that happened, or you ran across a former inmate? Because that's happened to me too. In downtown Mountain View, I ran across a former inmate that I did an intake on. I was super nice to him, and he was the bartender at some place, and he ended up hooking up with some drinks. So
nice.
We went out one time after work, and we went to go eat at this burger place. Won't name it, but there was somebody that served us the food. Basically, I went up to go get it after they called their number. And then I look at them, and they look at me, and you do that thing where you kind of just like, you know, they're from somewhere, and they usually ask, like, you know, they might ask, like, do I know you from somewhere? Or you look familiar. And it's because I did this individual's wound care for like a period of 3 months every day. And now they're there out of jail giving me my burgers.
Wasn't he I think you told me about that. He was super thankful though, right? And he remembered
Yeah,
you.
they were. I mean, they're super nice. Outside of jail, everybody is just, I mean, for the most part, they're okay. We didn't mention where we know each other from, but we knew where we knew. Like, we knew where each of us was from or how we knew each other. You kind of acknowledge that. You don't say it out loud because you don't want to be in public like, oh, yeah, I know you from jail, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the closest encounter that I've had. Other than that, when I go home, I literally check out. I'll probably play like Call of Duty or I don't know, 2K, and I just don't think about work after. I at least try not to. But
That's
that's
why
my
it's very
close.
important to treat people with kindness inside the jail, because you'll very good chance that you'll run into them like on the outside too. So we
Exactly.
ran into another inmate. We went to some place after work, and then he was working as like the bouncer guy, like
Oh,
right at the
shit.
door. Yeah, I think I've run into at least like 3 or 4. Most recent one was at Costco. Some guy was just looking at me, and then I didn't recognize him at all, but I think he recognized me. But they look very different in civilian clothes, right?
You know what? You're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I just probably forgot. There's a guy that stopped me on the way to work. He was driving, and he stopped to talk to me. I thought he was going to pull up on me.
Hmm.
But he just wanted to tell his passenger that I was his nurse, also for wound care. So super thankful. But it really scared me when they stop in the middle of the street and then they park right in front of me to try and talk to me. I'm like, shit,
Hey.
it's it for me. But I mean, I did his wound care also, and he was just like super thankful also. Just trying to tell his passenger like, oh, that's my nurse, did my wound care every single day. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Actually, it was, I don't know if, luckily or not, I haven't seen anybody that.
No, you just check out after work. You just don't see nobody. You're blind. You're blind to
Exactly.
anything jail related.
Blinders on, and I don't recognize anybody outside that
Good.
facility. You do the only thing that's weird is when you work at one jail, because I'm per diem at two like multiple jail jobs. If you see one individual at one jail, and then a couple days later working
Oh, they
at
get
the
transferred?
other jail, and you see them there too, it's like, oh my gosh, getting brought up in every county, huh? I thought it was pretty interesting.
That happens a lot though. Just because of
Yeah,
their warrants, they always get transferred over. So everybody knows everybody.
it's true. That's true.
John, you were saying something earlier to us off camera that there was actually something that kind of hit home, close to home too, and that
Yeah,
kind of
this is more. Yeah, I've told you guys a little bit. Have I told you guys, any of you guys, like the full story?
No, I
not.
thought
Probably
it was a
not.
different one, but it's a totally new one to me.
Yeah, this was before I even worked in the jail, or it's kind of how I got into the jail. But I went to nursing school back in 2011, so it's been about 10 years now, 10, 11 years. But it was an accelerated nursing program, so it was 1 year long. But in the middle of that program, one of our nurses went missing from her clinical rotation. So we were in the middle of our maternity rotation. So like within the shift, like she had gone away to get something from her car, and then she never came back. So then
What?
they
And
started.
who noticed
People
it?
started. I
Like
think
who
the clinical
noticed that she
instructor
went?
right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the people, like her little clinical group, like the teacher and then a few of the students, kind of knew right away, like, oh, how come she didn't come back? So I think they tried to like call her cell phone. They went to where they thought that she had gone, but basically, like she just went missing like, all of a sudden. Um,
What?
so then it took a while to figure out what was going on, but eventually, like we found out that she had been murdered by somebody that she had known. Um, and then the big part of that story was that the person that had murdered her was a pregnant female. So she was pregnant when she had committed the crime, and then the professor who was during that clinical rotation was a maternity professor. So the thing that we asked her was once they had caught the person, we asked our professor like if she was assigned to this person's care, like would she still give care if like this murderer was her patient? And then the answer that she had given was kind of what got me into jail nursing, but also helped me to do the job without like passing my judgment to any of the guys or gals like based on what they do. Basically, she said that yeah, like of course, like we would still give this person care. We don't have to like the person, but they still deserve care just like anybody else. So that's a little thing that she had mentioned about that. I took that and I kind of started thinking about jail nursing and I thought that that was a great mindset to have, not just for jail, like it helps a lot in that, but just anywhere else that you work. But that's what happened during my nursing school.
Dude, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's
So it
awesome.
brings up, so anytime like
Crazy
there's a
story.
story of somebody missing, like right now, you guys know JV, like that radio host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like as the timeline, so when there's a missing persons case, they always say that the first 72 hours is really critical. So as that story started playing out as time went on, like the chance of them coming being found alive is unfortunately it gets less and less as time goes on, like past the 72-hour mark. So they told us that like with my classmates situation, they kind of explained to us like how it works with missing person cases. But of course, like you still keep hope like that things work out, right? But whenever there's a missing persons case that comes up in the news, I always think back to like the story of my classmate.
Dang,
That is crazy.
that's deep, dude.
Yeah, so that was the craziest thing that happened in our year, and I think it was even crazier because the our nursing program was only a year long, so it happened right in the middle of it, and we didn't know how it was going to end until about 4 months later. So we were still in school when all this stuff was playing out.
Man, that must
But
have
it's
been
just crazy
awful.
that yeah, it's just crazy that it happened like in the middle of like doing your rotation. Like you're just going to people like nursing students do this all the time. They just go to their car, get something during their break. So it happened in like a very common situation that people do all the time.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah, so they
crazy.
did a special on her story too. Like I don't really bring it up too much, but I think it's good to bring up just to keep her memory alive.
Hmm.
But they've done specials on her story. Like Dateline did a big one that kind of talks through the whole situation. And then when I watched that, there were a lot of things that we didn't even know about when the events were unfolding until I had saw that Dateline special. So yeah, and then when I was like googling like her name on YouTube, like a lot of podcasts and stuff have actually chimed in on her story too. So in a way, like I'm glad that the story is still out there. But of course, like very sad about what happened.
Did you
Yeah,
know
but
her personally?
like I wasn't close to her, but our class wasn't very big. It was like 40, 50 people. Yeah, but like my peers were definitely a lot of the people that I was close with her. So it wasn't a big group. So
Were you
yeah, it's
at
pretty
that
crazy.
like clinical rotation?
No, I wasn't. I was on a different site, but like a lot of people that were with her, like I hung out with them and stuff. So
Dang. Yeah, that
yeah,
definitely hits close to home.
yeah, but that really helped me. Like what my professor said was the big one, and that helped me get into jail nursing in a way where I would do the job. Like I think um, a big reason why people don't do jail nursing is for that reason. Like, oh, why would you want to help like a murderer, or how can you do that job without like passing judgment onto what they did?
Hmm.
So that part really helped me into getting into like into this jail specialty, and then being able to do it well. So I think for like the 10 years that I was there, I felt like I did it well enough where I never like judged anybody for what they did. I was just trying to help them as much as I could when I was while they're in jail. Yeah.
You did it so well that when you transferred facilities, they still called me your name.
Hey,
But yeah, definitely. I think that's a big part too. Like when you get into jail nursing, correctional nursing, everybody does deserve the care. You give them the care regardless. Um, and you just try not to get into their case. What are they there for? And definitely what you said, you don't have to like them. And they
Mhm.
probably don't like you sometimes. But you're there to help them and pretty much just help them with whatever they need. At least in terms of medical necessity. You're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we're not there to like punish them even more for what they did. That's what they're in jail for, right? They're being punished
True.
already. And that's what the justice system is for. But we're just there to make sure that they stay healthy while they, do their time or go through the system. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys kind of sharing how you guys handle stress and stuff outside of work and inside stressful environments. And every job has its own stress level. And what was actually funny is that I feel all four of us were constantly thinking of an exit plan from the jail.
Yeah.
And I even remember bouncing ideas off to John. And one of the things that caught my attention was, why don't we join forces and come up with something together? And it was helpful to have kind of like a game plan. As you were there, I mean, you really don't have job security. I mean, bottom line is you're replaceable, and being able to pivot, not have to rely on a 9 to 5 was always on our mind. And I feel each of us have tried quite a few gigs to replace our income. And the cool thing is when you actually see it working, it's quite liberating. It kind of gives you hope. So, I feel like that would be an awesome segue for one of our next many podcasts. But, I've really been thinking about doing foot pictures.
Can we get a sample? You got socks on right now?
I want to post up something like, let's all take foot pictures and then see who sells the most.
Hey, do you guys think there's a market for bunions?
there's a market for everything, man.
Well, I mean, if so,
I was just told about someone who was taking a picture of their foot in front of at Safeway on eggs, right by eggshells or right by eggs, and then the husband was like, "Hey, honey, what are you doing?" She's like, "I'm buying eggs. I'm about to post these up." But
we could try it. You got to make the account, but we could try it.
We could. All right. Let's do a test run.
I think we did get a message for an OnlyFans request on Reddit.
What?
I deleted it right away though.
What did they say though?
Oh, it was a spam. It was like a robot.
I thought it was genuine. I would have considered it if it was genuine. That wouldn't be bad. Do you think there's a market for like gout, like a gout affect?
I'm suffering from that right now. Gout foot. It's all right.
Yes, FYI for anybody watching it, Rick has gout from time to time when he has too much fun. Too much fun is equivalent to gout for him.
Too much fun.
Oh, see, that's fine. That's fine.
Now, if you want to see Rick's feet, go ahead on Feet Finder and we'll be there.
Look on the link below and subscribe.
Do you have any of the trivia questions, Roland?
Oh, my trivia questions? Oh, yeah, I do got one. I got one real quick. Here's a good one. Do you guys know any alternative uses for docusate sodium? You guys know docusate sodium is a stool softener, right? Right? And per certain protocols, you take it for a few days, helps your constipation, relieves your constipation. But did you guys know that the docusate sodium can be used for another indication? I just don't know if it's considered off-label use.
Gout?
No.
It is considered off-label.
No.
Do you know this one, John?
I know it because I saw the TikTok, but I've also done it in person.
I don't think I've seen this one.
Did an MD request you to do it?
No, the NP.
Oh, the NP. Okay, yeah. I didn't know he could do this. I thought I thought the doctor was literally just messing around with me.
Yeah, me too. Until I did the research, but I guess it's true. It's for you can use it to help with the earwax removal.
Yes, it is called a ceruminolytic cerumen. So
you literally just break the docusate pill and you squeeze it into the ear, and it's supposed to help to debride.
Yep.
Interesting.
It helps soften and loosen the earwax prior to irrigation.
So it's like a little the drops in a capsule form.
Oh, ceruminolytics.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah, it's a capsule, right? So you literally just cut it with like a scissor or something and just squeeze the
Yeah.
liquid out.
He told me to take scissors and put it in the patient's ear. And I said, I don't remember this being part of the protocol.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember learning about this in nursing school, but okay, if you tell me
Yeah,
it works, okay, I'll do it.
yeah, that was an order. That was an order from the doc. So that's a fun fact.
Hey, so have you had to do that in?
Yes, in a clinic setting, I was given that order. That was a prescribed order.
Yeah, I
Wow.
only did it one time. That was one
Yeah,
time.
I've only done it one time. But it worked. It really worked. Like, it was a plug. It was literally plugged. Because in jail, also for the people watching, in jail they typically put toilet paper in their ear to block out the noise, block out the sound, to get better sleep. But sometimes that tissue, because it's single ply, it tends to break and it gets lodged in the ear with the earwax. So then you get a hard plug. But that DocuState really worked. That was crazy.
That's an interesting fact.
Yes, that is a fun fact of the day.
Thank
That's
you
a
for
useful
sharing. That was a good one.
Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast today. We really appreciate you guys joining us. Stay tuned for the next episodes.